my name is David. I'm 59 years old, and for the past 31 years, I've been married to Mary. We met when I was 28 and she was 25. It wasn't one of those whirlwind romances. It was slow, steady, and real. We built everything from scratch: careers, kids, a home, even the traditions we followed without thinking. Chinese takeout on Fridays. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. Old Clint Eastwood movies on DVD after dinner. I thought we were solid. More than that, I thought we were unshakable. Sure, we had arguments, who doesn't? But there was always a base level of trust one never questioned. Mary was my wife, my teammate, my person. I knew her inside out. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, I'd started noticing little things. Not dramatic, not obvious, just enough to make the hair on the back of my neck stand up. She started staying late at work more often. She's a department manager at a local hospital, so long hours aren't unusual. But she used to call when she ran late. Lately, she didn't bother. Then there was her phone. She used to leave it lying around like it was nothing. Now it was always face down, password locked, on silent. I asked once if everything was okay at work, and she smiled, that half smile she uses when she's hiding something, and said, "Yeah, just busy." I told myself not to overthink it. We'd been together too long to fall apart over a few missed calls or late nights. Maybe I was just being paranoid. Maybe I was imagining things. But there was something in her eyes, distant, distracted, like her mind was somewhere else even when she was sitting right next to me. Then came the call. It was a Thursday evening. I was chopping onions in the kitchen, getting ready to make chili. Mary was upstairs in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the counter. I wouldn't have looked if it hadn't been for the name on the screen, and Michael, work. Michael was her assistant manager. I'd met him once, briefly. Young guy, probably late 30s. Friendly, polite. I didn't think twice about him. But something about the timing, it was late, close to 9, and it didn't sit right. The phone rang again, then went to voicemail, and then immediately rang a third time. Without thinking, I picked it up. I didn't say anything. I didn't even mean to answer. My thumb just pressed the screen. And then I heard his voice. "You still thinking about me?" That's all he said. Just those 6 words, soft and low, like he knew who he was talking to and didn't care. I didn't respond. I didn't move. I just slowly placed the phone back on the counter, heart pounding in my chest like a war drum. She came downstairs a few minutes later, towel over her shoulder, hair damp. She kissed me on the cheek like nothing happened and poured herself a glass of wine. I said nothing. Not that night. Not the next day. I watched. I observed. I started putting the pieces together, one at a time. A receipt in her coat pocket from a restaurant we never go to. A new perfume I didn't recognize. A laugh that sounded different when she was on the phone and thought I couldn't hear. I wasn't going to confront her with guesses. I wanted facts. Proof. Something undeniable. Because if what I suspected was true, I wasn't just going to let it slide. I wasn't going to beg her to stay, or cry, or make excuses. If she was lying to me, after 31 years, I was going to find out. And when I did, I would make damn sure she regretted every second of it. The next few days were a strange kind of torture. I didn't ask questions, and she didn't offer answers. But the silence between us grew thick, like fog rolling in, swallowing everything familiar. Mary went about her days like nothing had changed, but I noticed the small things. The hesitation when I asked about her schedule. The way she'd flinch when her phone vibrated and she thought I might glance at the screen. Even her laughter had changed. There was something artificial in it now, like she was acting in a play and forgetting the lines halfway through. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed more. I started checking the shared bank account. She didn't know I still had alerts set up from years ago, back when we were helping our youngest through college and tracked every dime. A charge popped up from a hotel downtown. Not one of the usual ones for hospital staff, this was one of those boutique places with dim lighting, overpriced wine, and beds you pay by the hour without saying it out loud. It was booked at 4:07 p.m. last Tuesday. Supposedly, she had been stuck in an emergency department meeting. I screenshot the charge and saved it to a hidden folder. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I knew I'd need it. That same afternoon, I took a drive. Not far, just enough to clear my head. I ended up at the small strip mall near our house. It had this diner we used to go to when the kids were young. Mary loved their lemon pie. We hadn't been there in years. I don't know why I walked in. Maybe I just wanted to sit somewhere that didn't reek of suspicion. The waitress recognized me. Her name was Donna. She looked surprised to see me alone. "Where's the boss lady?" she asked with a smile. I gave a small laugh. "Busy with work." Donna nodded, poured me coffee, and said, "Yeah, hospital life, right? All hours." Then she added, almost offhand, "Saw her here a few weeks back. Thought maybe you two were back to doing your date nights." I froze. "When was that?" "Couple Fridays ago, maybe?" She was with someone. Didn't recognize him. Figured it was her brother or something. It wasn't her brother. She only had a sister, and she lived in Oregon. I left a generous tip, thanked Donna, and walked out. Piece by piece, it was all falling into place. That night, I watched her more closely than usual. Mary sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, sipping wine, half watching a show she wasn't really paying attention to. I saw her smile at something on the screen. A small, secret smile. Not for me. I finally spoke. "You ever feel like we're strangers now?" She looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I don't know. Just, you seem different lately." She laughed. "Too quickly. Work's been crazy, that's all. Stress, I guess." "Must be real stressful," I said, keeping my tone even. Dinner at Elridge Hotel in the middle of the afternoon. Lemon pie at Terry's Diner with mystery company. Sounds exhausting. The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth to say something, but I held up a hand. "Don't lie, Mary. Not now. I'm not stupid. And I'm not angry, yet. I just want to hear the truth." She stared at me like a deer caught in headlights. For a second, I thought she might deny it. Try to talk her way out. But then she did something I didn't expect. She cried. Not a dramatic movie cry. Just a single, slow tear down her cheek, like a crack in porcelain. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she whispered. "It started so small. Just talking. I didn't even notice it at first." "Michael?" I asked, though I already knew. She nodded. "How long?" "Since January," she said, barely audible. 8 months. 8 months of lies. Of work meetings, late shifts, and pretending." "Why?" I asked. It was the only word I could form. Not even out of anger. Just disbelief. She looked down at her lap, twisting the hem of her sweater. "I felt invisible, David. Like I wasn't part of your world anymore. You were always so wrapped up in your books, the yard, your projects." "I don't know." He noticed me. And I was weak. I let that sit for a moment. Then I stood up. "I noticed you too, Mary," I said quietly. "I just didn't realize I was competing for your attention." She sobbed again, reaching for me, but I stepped back. "You need to leave," I said. "David, please." "Not forever. But right now, I can't look at you. I need time. And you need to think about what you've done." I didn't yell. I didn't slam a door. I just turned and walked upstairs, leaving her alone in the room we used to share everything in. That night, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling, hearing the echo of her voice downstairs. For 31 years, she had been the last person I spoke to before falling asleep. That night, the silence was the loudest thing I had ever heard. I didn't sleep much that night. Maybe 2 hours, tops. I kept staring at the ceiling like it held some kind of answer. But it didn't. It never does. By the time the sun rose, I was already downstairs, sipping cold coffee in the dark, trying to make sense of what the hell just happened. Mary was gone when I got up. I didn't hear her leave. No note, no text. Just gone. The house felt hollow. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears, makes you feel like you're underwater. 31 years of laughter, arguments, inside jokes, all of it suddenly felt like a ghost that had moved out before I noticed. I spent most of that morning pacing. Didn't turn on the TV. Didn't check my phone. I just kept walking from room to room, touching things, staring at photos. Our wedding picture on the mantel. The framed crayon drawing from our daughter back in '98. The dent on the hallway wall from when I dropped the ladder fixing the smoke detector. So many memories. All of them real. All of them suddenly tainted. By noon, I cracked. I opened the drawer in the kitchen where she kept her old iPad. She hadn't used it much lately, and I wasn't even sure it still worked. But when I plugged it in, it lit up. No password. She probably forgot it even existed. The messages weren't on the iPad, she deleted most of her apps. But the email was still signed in. And buried in the trash folder were dozens of confirmations from a private Gmail. One I didn't recognize. Reservations, tickets, one even for a massage appointment, under his name. Michael. It was all there. She'd gone to great lengths to hide it. But not enough. I printed out every email that mattered. Every receipt. Every scheduled meeting that didn't line up with what she'd told me. I laid them out on the table like I was building a case. Because I was. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about the fact that she looked me in the eye, more than once, and fed me a lie she rehearsed. A lie she dressed up with tears and silence. And I had swallowed it. Until now. Around 3 that afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was her. "I'm at my sister's. Please, can we talk tonight?" I stared at the message for a long time before replying. "Not tonight. Tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. Be here." She replied quickly. "Okay." I didn't sleep that night either. I wasn't sad this time. I was calm. Focused. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, she walked in right on time. She looked tired. Her eyes were puffy, and she was clutching her bag like a shield. I didn't ask her to sit. I didn't offer coffee. I just pointed to the chair across from me at the kitchen table. She Saturday. I slid the pile of printed emails across to her. She stared at them for a second, then slowly started flipping through. Her hands started to shake. "You lied to me, Mary. Over and over. Not just about what happened. About how long. About how deep it went. About everything. I didn't know how to tell you," she said, barely above a whisper. You found a way to lie to me every day. You could have found a way to tell the truth. She nodded. No defense. No excuses. Just shame. Do you love him? I asked. Her head shot up. No. God, no. Then why him? I don't know, she said. He was just there. And I was weak. And you were. Don't, I interrupted. Don't make this about me. I didn't put you in that hotel room. I didn't make you delete texts and lie to my face. You made that choice. Every single time. She nodded again. A tear slipped down her cheek, but I felt nothing. I talked to a lawyer, I said. That wasn't a lie. I had made the call that morning. Her face went white. I haven't decided yet. But I need you to understand something. If I do go through with this, I won't go quietly. I won't disappear. You broke something in me, Mary. And I'm not going to let you walk away from that without feeling what it's like to lose something too. She looked at me with wide, broken eyes. I'm sorry, she said again. I'm sure you are. But sorry doesn't put this house back together. It doesn't erase what you did. It doesn't make me forget the voice I heard on that phone, or the emails, or the months of pretending. I stood up. You need to leave. Again. I don't know if this is over, or if there's a way back. But I know I can't figure that out with you sitting in front of me. She stood, wiped her face, and walked toward the door. But just before she stepped out, she turned back. Whatever happens, David? I never stopped loving you. I didn't respond. I just watched the door close behind her. And then I sat down in the silence again, feeling less like a victim and more like a man on the edge of something bigger. Something I was about to take into my own hands. The house was too quiet after she left. It wasn't just silence, it was that dense, unsettling kind of quiet that sits on your chest and makes every clock tick sound like a hammer strike. I stood in the living room for a long time, staring out the window at nothing in particular. Cars passed. A dog barked somewhere down the street. The world kept moving, like none of this mattered. Like 31 years could be shattered and nobody even noticed. But I noticed. And I was done standing still. I didn't know exactly when the shift happened in me. Maybe it was when she turned the doorknob without looking back, or maybe it was when she said she never stopped loving me. Whatever it was, something had changed. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to fall apart. I was going to figure out how to take control of this story. My story. The lawyer I'd spoken to the day before had given me some initial advice, nothing too deep, just what my rights were, how joint property worked, how communications and records could play into the divorce process if I chose that route. I had enough to know that if I moved smart, I could keep the house. I could protect what was mine. But first, I needed more. Not just receipts and emails. I needed confirmation. I needed to look that man in the eyes. Michael. I wasn't planning to cause a scene. I just wanted to see him. Understand what kind of man thought it was acceptable to sneak around with someone else's wife while shaking that man's hand at a company barbecue. I waited until Friday afternoon, around 4. Mary had said he usually left the hospital by then, and sure enough, after about 30 minutes parked across the street in my old Chevy, I saw him exit the side doors with a backpack slung over one shoulder, keys twirling on his finger like nothing in the world was wrong. He didn't see me. I kept my head low and my sunglasses on. He walked to a dark blue sedan, unlocked it, and stood there a second, checking his phone. Smiling. Laughing at something. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, and for a moment I wondered how easy it would be to just floor it. To show him exactly how I felt with the front bumper of my truck. But that wasn't me. Not now. I wanted him to feel something deeper than fear. I wanted him to feel exposure. I let him drive off, then waited 5 minutes and pulled out behind him. I didn't follow him far. Just enough to see where he lived. It was a clean, 2-story house on the north side, tucked between identical homes like it had nothing to hide. But it did. I memorized the street. Took a picture of the address. And then I drove home, mind spinning. That night, I opened a new email account. Burned the name, fake details. I uploaded every document I had, receipts, email screenshots, calendar inconsistencies, and composed a message with no greeting, no name. It read, "You should know who your husband's been seeing during all those late nights. Attached are some details. If you want to talk, I'll listen. If you want proof, it's in the files. You deserve the truth." Then I attached everything and typed the only address I was sure would reach her. Lisa Michelson at? I wasn't sure if it was still active, but it felt like a safe bet. I'd heard her name once at a holiday party. She was real. And she had a right to know. I didn't sign the message. I didn't say who I was. I just hit send. And closed the laptop. For the first time in weeks, I felt steady. Not whole. Not healed. But grounded. Like I'd taken the first real step forward. The next morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. The voice was calm. Shaken, but steady. "This is Lisa. Michael's wife. I got your message." I said nothing at first. Just waited. I had my suspicions. For months. But I didn't know with who. Her voice broke a little. "I'm sorry," I said finally. I didn't know who else to tell. "Thank you," she replied. "He's not home right now. But when he gets here, I'm going to ask for the truth. And if I don't get it, he's out." There was a pause. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I'm working on it." Another pause. "If you need anything, evidence, backup. I have some messages from January. Screenshots." He wasn't careful. I swallowed hard. "Send them to this address. I may need them." We exchanged no more words. Just a quiet end to a quiet call. I sat there, staring at the phone. Mary had taken something from me, something sacred. But now I had something too. The upper hand. And I wasn't finished yet. I didn't hear from Mary for 3 days after the last time she walked out of the house. Not a call, not a text. And I didn't reach out either. There was nothing else to say. The next move was mine, and I needed that silence to think. I spent most of that weekend gathering everything. Documents. Printouts. Messages. Lisa came through with the screenshots. And they were brutal. Long threads of flirtation, hidden jokes, late-night conversations. One in particular stood out. It was dated March 22nd, our anniversary. That night, Mary had claimed she was stuck covering a staff shift. Said she'd make it up to me that weekend. The message read, "Wish you were here right now. Can't stop thinking about last night." And he replied, "Next time, don't wear anything. Just come straight to the hotel." I printed it out. In bold. I stared at it for an hour, maybe more. Then I put it in the envelope with everything else. That Monday, I met with my lawyer again. A real meeting this time. Face to face. He looked through the materials and let out a quiet whistle. "You've got her dead to rights," he said, flipping through the messages. "If you want to proceed, we can file within the week. With cause. You'll get the house, the assets. We'll fight for alimony if she pushes. I nodded slowly. But I wasn't ready to pull the trigger just yet. I had one more thing to do first. That afternoon, I called Mary. She sounded hesitant when she picked up. David? We need to talk. Tonight. Come by around 6. Okay, she said, voice soft. I'll be there. She arrived on time. Neat, composed, guarded. She sat on the couch, hands folded in her lap. I stayed standing. I didn't want her thinking this was a conversation between equals. I know everything, I said. From January to now. The dinners. The hotels. The texts. Even the one you sent on our anniversary. Her eyes widened, but she didn't speak. You lied, Mary. Again and again. And you let me sit in this house and believe we still had something real. I didn't mean to fall for him, she said quickly. It just happened. I don't care what you meant, I interrupted. You made a choice. Every day. And now you're going to live with the consequences. She looked down at the floor, like a child being scolded. I'm filing, I said. The paperwork will be ready by the end of the week. You'll be served. I'm not fighting with you. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm just telling you how it's going to be. She looked up, eyes filled with tears. David, please. I'll quit the job. I'll block his number. I'll do anything. I shook my head. No, Mary. You already did everything. You did it behind my back. You did it when I was fixing the sink, when I was raking the leaves, when I was planning our vacation. You had your chance to choose this marriage. You didn't. She tried to reach for me, but I stepped back. I don't hate you, I said. But I can't respect you. And I can't share a life with someone I don't respect. I walked over to the drawer by the kitchen and pulled out the envelope. I handed it to her. What's this? She asked. Everything you need to understand why you're not getting another chance. She opened it and began flipping through the pages. Her face went pale. You sent these to Lisa? She asked. I nodded. She deserved the truth too. Just like I did. Mary covered her face with her hands and let out a soft, broken sob. But I didn't feel sorry for her. Not anymore. I let her cry. When she finally looked up, she asked, Is this really it? Yes, I said. This is it. She stood slowly. I'll call the lawyer when I get the papers. You'll be served. You don't need to call anyone. She nodded, her voice small. Okay. And then, quietly, she walked out the door. I locked it behind her. Not in anger. In finality. That night, I slept. Really slept. 8 hours, uninterrupted. No dreams. No ghosts. Just peace. And when I woke up, I brewed coffee, stepped outside, and stood on the porch as the sun came up. It wasn't just a new day. It was my day. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like it belonged to me. The papers were delivered on a Thursday. I didn't watch her get served, but the process server called me after. Said she answered the door in sweats, looked like she'd been crying. Took the envelope, said nothing, closed the door. That was it. No more pretending. No more vague promises or late-night texts asking if we could talk. It was over. Officially in motion. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, I felt like I could breathe again. I spent that afternoon cleaning the garage. Not because it needed it, though it did, but because I needed something to work on, something real. I took down old boxes, sorted through tools I hadn't touched in years, and by the end of the day, the space looked the way I felt, cleared out, ready for something new. People think revenge has to be loud. But sometimes, it's quiet. Clean. Just taking back control of your life without needing to make a show of it. That night, I sat on the back porch with a glass of bourbon, the good stuff I'd been saving. The stars were out, the air was cool, and I didn't feel like I needed answers anymore. I had everything I needed. Truth. Closure. And a way forward. The next day, I drove out to the lake. It's a place I hadn't been in years, not since the kids were little. Mary and I used to take them out there in the fall. Hot dogs over the fire, sticky fingers from marshmallows, the sound of water lapping at the shore. It used to feel like a happy place. But this time, it was just mine. I sat at the edge of the dock with a thermos of coffee and a notebook. Not to write anything profound, just thoughts. Things I hadn't said out loud. Things I needed out of my head. I wrote for hours. Not in a straight line, just fragments. Memories. Regrets. Hopes. Everything I didn't get to say when she was still pretending to be my wife. One line kept repeating in my head. You broke something that I was still trying to protect. I wrote it down. Underlined it. It was the closest thing to truth I'd felt in a while. I stayed until sunset. The kind of golden, burning sky that makes the world feel like it's starting over. Then I packed up, drove home, and threw out the rest of her things. Not in anger. In peace. The following week, I ran into someone unexpected. Karen. She used to live 2 doors down before moving out a few years ago. Her husband passed, cancer. We'd lost touch after that. I saw her outside the grocery store, fumbling with a bag in the wind. I walked over, grabbed it before it spilled, and handed it to her. She smiled. David? God, it's been forever. We stood there for a few minutes, just catching up. She asked how Mary was. I paused for half a second, then said, we are separated. Divorce is in progress. Her face softened. I'm sorry. Don't be, I said. It was a long time coming. I just didn't know it yet. She nodded like she understood something deeper than what I'd said. We exchanged numbers. Not for anything serious. Not yet. But for the first time, I didn't feel like I was clinging to the past. I felt open to something new, whatever form it came in. The rest of the month passed quietly. I didn't hear from Mary again. She signed the initial papers through her lawyer. No notes. No drama. Lisa texted once. Short. He moved out. Thanks again. I'm doing better. I responded, good. You deserve that. I didn't expect anything more from her, and I didn't need it. We had both lost something, and uncovered something more valuable in the process. The truth. One night, about a month later, I found myself back at that same diner from before. Terry's. The one with the lemon pie. I sat at the corner booth, ordered black coffee and a slice, and watched the world move around me. Donna came over, same smile as always. You doing better? She asked. Yeah, I said. I think I am. She patted my shoulder before walking away. I took a bite of the pie. It wasn't as sweet as I remembered. But it was mine. Every day after that felt a little easier. A little clearer. I didn't forgive her. I didn't forget. But I didn't need to carry it anymore. What she broke wasn't me. It was the illusion of what I thought we were. And once that shattered, I was free to rebuild something stronger. Something that belonged only to me. 6 months passed. The papers were finalized, the signatures inked, and the case was closed without a courtroom. I kept the house. I kept my pension. I kept my dignity. She kept her job, her apartment, and whatever was left of her version of the truth. I didn't ask. I didn't care. Once it was done, it was done. People kept asking if I felt angry, bitter, alone. I didn't feel any of those things. Not anymore. I felt clean. There's a strange kind of peace that comes from knowing you survived something designed to break you. Not just endured it, but came out stronger, sharper, wiser. I didn't walk away from 31 years with nothing. I walked away with clarity. And clarity, I've found, is more valuable than closure. In the weeks after the divorce, I went through every inch of the house. Not just to clean, but to reclaim it. I repainted the living room. Tossed out the old throw pillows she loved. Sold the dining set we picked out together 20 years ago and bought a solid oak table with a bench seat. Something simple. Something that didn't hold memories I didn't ask for. I even took down the wedding photo. That part wasn't easy. I stared at it for a long time. Young me in a tux, smiling like I had the world figured out. Her in white, holding my hand, looking up at me like she believed we'd grow old together without cracks or creases. I almost left it there. Almost. But I didn't. Instead, I packed it away in a storage box and replaced it with a photo of my kids, grown now, both married, starting families of their own. That was the part of the marriage that still mattered. The part no one could take away from me. A few weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. I knew the handwriting. It was short. Just a few lines. I hope you're well. I think about what I lost every day. I don't expect you to respond. I just wanted you to know, I'll always be sorry. Mary. I read it once. Folded it. Tossed it in the fire pit that night when the wind was calm. There was nothing more to say. Nothing left to salvage. A part of me did wonder if Michael was still in the picture. Whether they tried to build something out of the mess they made. But I never asked. Never looked it up. I didn't need the answer. I already had mine. Some things aren't worth rebuilding. One morning, early spring, I drove out to a small town about 2 hours from home. A place called Franklin Ridge. I'd seen it once years ago when we drove through on a weekend trip. Quaint. Quiet. Not much more than a few shops, a lake, and some open fields that stretched out toward the mountains. It felt untouched. Undisturbed. I stayed at a small inn. Nothing fancy, just a warm bed, good coffee, and no memories attached to the walls. I walked the lake trail. Ate at a tiny diner where the waitress called everyone hun, watched the sun rise over the hills and realized I hadn't felt that calm in a long, long time. Before I left, I stopped at the real estate office on Main Street. Just to ask. Just to see. The woman behind the desk smiled when I told her I was looking for something quiet. Simple. Detached from the noise. She showed me a few listings. One caught my eye, a small, one-story cottage just outside town, surrounded by trees and nothing else. A porch that wrapped around both sides. Room for a garden. And most importantly, silence. I didn't buy it. Not yet. But I thought about it the whole way home. Back at the house, I stood in the doorway for a while before going in. Everything looked familiar. Everything was in its place. But something in me had shifted. I wasn't clinging to this house anymore. I wasn't clinging to the past. I was just living. And maybe, someday soon, I'd pack a bag and head back to that quiet little town. Buy that cottage. Plant something in the soil. Brew coffee as the sun rose over the ridge and feel the ground beneath my feet belong to me. Not to a memory. Not to a mistake. To me. Because in the end, that's the best revenge. Not anger. Not destruction. Just peace. Peace, and never letting anyone take it from you again.